welcome to the Load of Balls semi-final preview edition. And I'm delighted that the show is sponsored this week by Recovery Club in Uri. So any aches or pains that you have, just get yourself up to the Recovery Club up in Uri. They'll sort you out maybe for next year. But there's an awful rumour going about that it's all done for.
Absolutely. 100% confirmed.
We'll get into that later. Tonight we'll have Jarlath Farrell from Straver, Mark Doran, Longstone and Down, Peter Turley, former Down and RG Stalwart, and of course the best referee in the county. Well, it depends who you're talking to, Neil Cousins. maybe
Thanks very much, John.
Neil, it's great to have you on, and I suppose it's important that some of the issues that have come up in the Down Championship as well to date. Just a wee clarification on some of the rules. There's rumours going about the Clonduff and Warren Point match. I just want to get straight into it. And what is the rules with the penalty takers? A couple of people have been asking me. I know there's a contention about Alan Davison who didn't play the extra time, took a penalty. Stephen McConville, I think, took a penalty who was taken off in extra time. So just can you give our audience the rules there?
Yeah. Well, the rules of the penalties is anybody that participates in the game, so it's either from the start or extra time, can hit a penalty. So if you were substituted, you can hit a penalty. A unused substitute is the only person that can't hit a penalty.
Right. So
he was took off and he can come back on again. But I don't think Clonduff knew that. That's why they brought on that young fella for the last 10 seconds to take a penalty, not knowing that.
Yes.
So but no, if you're named in the squad and you play any part in the normal game or extra time, you can hit a penalty.
Right. Okay. Also with the rules that have come in, Neil, I don't know about yourself, but how have you found it? With the timekeeping and the advanced mark and the water breaks and that. Just a wee bit on the water breaks. Does the watch stop, or is it added on, or what's the story there?
Most of us have two watches that we would use, and one rolls on and one stops, and then you know then what you are putting on at the end. Mm-hmm. But in Uri, for the first few games, they weren't stopping the main clock; they were letting it run on, and that was just causing a disaster. So the court come to an agreement, then the quarterfinals on there, that would actually stop the clock in Uri, which would make it easier once it gets to 30 minutes, then you know what's been added on. Some games were going on 36, 37 minutes because there was a 2-minute water break. The clock was kept running, but then the tannoy was only saying 3 minutes. So how's that? Mm-hmm. How's that referee got that many minutes? And stuff like that. But that was all ironed out now. It was well done there the other night. Now your girl Renee was down. She the PR or PRO. She was over and explaining what was agreed and what we should be doing. So it was a lot better. As you've seen, it worked a lot better because everybody knew then what time was added on. If it was 3 minutes or 4 minutes, then it was 3 or 4 minutes. It wasn't going on then. Yeah. Very good. And the mark is it's good and it isn't good. I don't think the players know the rule of the mark, to be truthfully honest. When you catch the ball and the referee blows the whistle for a mark, the players don't know that they can run 13 metres without anybody touching them. I have yet to see a player doing it yet. He either sticks his arm up and stops, or he passes the ball.
So
I agree with you, Neil. Yeah, I agree with you. Players don't know the rule.
Yeah, so just to clarify that, if they catch the ball then and don't put it in their hands, they can solo for 13.
Yeah, 13 metres without being touched. But you see, when goalkeepers are kicking the ball 60, 70 yards and you're catching it in the halfway line and you run 13 metres, you're now at the 45. It's a scoreable opportunity then. If you're touched within that 13 metres, it becomes a scoreable free.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the referees aren't giving the frees. People are being tackled and they're not giving frees.
That's the thing. You see, it's new for everybody. But at the start of the championship, now I have to admit it wasn't maybe as good now. I was away assessing a few referees and a few things were pointed out. But it seems to be now his last, like down Darren O'Hare was very good in stall, John, with the mark.
Yeah.
And stuff. I think referees are finally getting the hang of it as well as it's gone on. Because like they were going straight into league games there that didn't mean anything.
There's the referees ringing you, making sure you're not saying too much.
You know who that was? Sean Rooney.
See if you're available this weekend.
Oh God, who knows what he's looking for? But that's who that was. No, but that's the sort of things with the mark. Like the teams are getting scores out of it. You know, it seems to be working to certain teams' advantage. Like you know, it is different. Like it's changed. Like you know, so if we had had it in for March and there had been no COVID, it would have run a lot more smoothly. But I think it's because basically you've only had 3 or 4 games to get used to it.
And
I done a game for you in March and
yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't do another one to July. You know.
yes, yeah. With you said you were assessing there, Neil, the referees.
Mm-hmm.
Have you come across any of the standout problems that are happening more and more, and you know it seems to be a common occurrence?
In the referees'
Yeah,
performances,
yeah.
I guess a lot of referees are running with their back to play. They're not watching for short kickouts, which is a lot of the modern game seems to be short kickouts. So they're not looking to see is the ball inside the arc and stuff like that. There's a few referees reports now done was like that. A lot of the referees have got fitter now. There's no doubt in that. Like a lot of them have got fitter and are up with play a lot more. There's a few incidents now of maybe the black card's an issue. What's a deliberate trip? What's a deliberate step across somebody? It seems to be a contentious issue in most games. There seems to be one or two. If I'm sitting in the stand, I might think it's a black card, but if the referee doesn't think it's a black card, you know.
Yeah.
I would say the black card's the most contentious thing at the minute in a lot of games that I've seen or went to.
I think there's a bit of in the early league games. There's a bit of confusion by some of the managers as well. Whenever they did get a black card, they were sending on the replacement, and I think that happened to you, Peter.
Oh, it did.
The poor RGU gets a rough time, don't they? By this?
Oh, it definitely do. But look at it didn't affect the result. You know what I mean? At the time, they were threatening even just to end the game once the referee realised that it had actually happened. But we were just like, you know, the league. At the end of the day, the league this year was just used for warm-up games for the championship, even though we didn't get too much championship like. But that's what the leagues were used for, you know. So at the time, we were just like, look, forget about. You know, we just said, look, forget about what happened. Just play the game on. You know, it was somebody made a mistake. They said, so we were just took it for their word for it. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's exactly what he said. He said, I made a mistake. You know.
That's all you can. Like that's fair enough, isn't it? Like, yeah, people make mistakes. So,
and you're going to book the player that came onto the field, going to do whatever to him. The game is going to be abandoned because they had an extra player on the field for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But look, really and truly, if it had been a proper league and it, you know, you were looking your points and the game had been closer, like you would have maybe said that. But at the time, it was just basically they're just friendlies. You know what I mean?
I honestly can hand on heart say I think the standard of refereeing has gotten better throughout the county. I was very impressed with Con Reynolds in the games. 80 Sharvin, I think, you know, was one of the top referees as well. And I think it's a lot to do with communication, Neil, as well. I think referees are communicating a lot to not even the players, but the managers, you know, whenever they make a contentious decision, like why they're doing it.
Yeah, well, that was one of the points that was made too at meetings at the start of the year. I know it all went pear-shaped there, like we didn't have our backup meetings, but sort of things like if you explain why you give it's half the battle, they mightn't agree with you, but at least they know what you give it for. You know, not every decision that a referee makes in a game is going to be acceptable by the team that you're giving the free against. But if you try and talk to people in an adult way, don't talk down to people. Try and be in a respectful way. I think it goes a long way that players give you that back. Like, definitely that has to be the way forward. You can't. We have a lot of good young referees coming through there. What I've seen and what I've assessed, like the last 2 or 3 months, and if we don't keep these referees, we're not going to have any, because the likes of the Cons and the Brenton Rices and these guys, they're getting on. I'm getting on a bit myself. You know what I mean? We're not going to be here forever, so you're going to have a few younger referees coming through and give them a few big games.
Tony, I suppose you're like myself. You've been to every game going, and you know, how do you find that? You know, I know there was a bit of issues with the umpires. You know, that's sort of by the referees' decision. Like, you know, he's going by what the umpires are saying. But you know, yes, there was a bit of with Paul Floon's timekeeping or whatever. But you know, that's been explained. You know, how do you find the referee situation in Down?
Look, I do think the referees have improved. I just asked Neil a question. I've been saying this the last couple of years. I think it would be a good thing maybe if down referees, just throughout Ulster, where down referee goes and referee a Tyrone Championship game, vice versa, an Armagh referee comes and referees a down game or Tyrone, just because there is a big issue in down where clubs seem to have this thing, oh, this referee doesn't like us or this. So if you bring somebody in out of the county who has no baggage, no running with players, I wonder if that's something now that would take the whole of Ulster to maybe agree to that. But I'm even go back, look, this is not a thing that's just happened this year. I know even when I played for Longstone, we had certain referees and we went, this,
no one likes you, Stoney, that's right.
I actually think Neil, I remember Neil referee. I was actually managing Castlewell at the time, and I think Neil says, you actually refereed this, Neil.
Yes.
Referee Castlewell in Longstone. He says, it's great being up in Longstone and now knowing I'm not the most hated man here. And I said, well, who is?
That's right. Well, Mark, what you're saying there, that was mentioned actually in meetings about doing that, changing it about. But I think what happened was, didn't they do that with the hurling? And then there was an awful outcry then. Didn't they bring in for the final a few years ago?
Right. I didn't know. I was just having a thought about it. I've been thinking this last couple of years. I says, would it not just save a load of hassle? Because even to be fair, I know my time with Castlewell, clubs do try to influence. I know if I would have been on at Kevin Sweeney, who's referee, it was a big thing who was refereeing, and I do think it would save a lot of habit. It takes the Ulster counties all the road behind it. But as you said, they have tried it in the hurling and it didn't work. So look,
I think that was the problem there. That was the hurling, when they took that lad in, and they only had like 3 senior hurling referees, and none of them got the final. That was it. Then there was a big hullabaloo over that. That wasn't good. And then that stopped everything.
To be fair, it is. I wouldn't do it for any money in the world. It just would. As people, it's like managers, players. Everybody makes mistakes. And it's easy now saying, I know in certain games last year or a couple of years for Castlewell, if a referee I thought made a mistake, I've been right down his throat. But look, everybody makes mistakes, and it's a tough job, and the problem in our association, the GAA associate, referee is the most important, because if we don't have a referee, we ain't playing no football.
That's it.
Yeah. I remember in Chicago, me and Brent McVeigh were in Chicago, and I was out to play football, but I got roped into refereeing a junior game one day. World Cup was playing with Brenton, and while we were staying with Kevin Brady, he said, it's a handy $100 for you, just do it, stand in the middle of the field and blow the whistle. After 25 minutes, I got the whistle, Kurt, pen, fired up in the air and walked off. So you can stick your $100 with it.
Good word. But is there any rules that you would see changed or done away with that you just think it's complicating the job with the referees? To see, there's David Goff. He's on Twitter now saying about if anyone has any questions about rules and that there, because there just seems to be rules upon rules upon rules now.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's come in his last 2 or 3 years, and I would safely say 50% of the players don't know the rules. I'm not joking; wouldn't know all the rules. Like I went around a few clubs, as you know yourself. I was in Saul, I was in Stone, I was in a few clubs all right, and just explain to players. And you would be quite surprised how many players that's playing 7 or 8 years senior football ask you questions that they don't know the answer to. I think if clubs, maybe the county board got senior managers in at the start of the season, just explain the rules, explain what happens and stuff like that. But I don't like the black card. To be personally honest, I don't like that rule. I don't see it serves a purpose of a deliberate trip or an accidental trip. Some players are running at 20, 30 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour. Man's running after him and he clips his heels. He's not deliberately clipping his heels. Then you'll end up off for 10 minutes. There is the cynical end of it, obviously, when you step across people and stuff. Yeah, I can see that. But the black card rule for me is very, very hard to police. Very hard to police.
Yeah, no. Hopefully it gets its clarification on that. But I'm sure we'll get torching you again, Neil, about certain things that happen in the championship. Peter, I suppose we'll say that we don't want to go into the nooks and cruxes of it, but the RGU then, he's had a COVID case, and unfortunately he's had to forfeit your match. Now you're up against Starcross in the relegation. playoff. Is there any more word or movement in that match?
No, look, it's at the minute we've just been told it's going to be Saturday, but it might be a miscommunication within the club or between the club and the county. I don't really know, but we were told previous that after isolation, the isolation stopped for us today. So the players, I wasn't at the training because I'd hurt myself against Trevor, so I didn't train, so I didn't have to do the isolation. But boys had to self-isolate for 14 days. That finished today. We were told that we were given a week minimum to prepare for a playoff match. And we weren't happy about that to start off with, the fact that we had to go in and play a playoff match without actually losing 2 matches. But that's what we were told. Then I was watching the match there last night, and then you see the fixtures coming out, and we were playing a match on Saturday. You know, and we were like, well, we are only allowed to start back training today. First training session is going to be tomorrow, collectively. And you're like, how can we be expected to play a match now? I don't know what's going on, or what, if there was a miscommunication, or the county board did tell us that, and we, you know, now that went back in the word, I don't know what the whole story is, but that's what we were told. And at the minute we put it in an appeal just to say that we can't play because we haven't enough time. Not even that. Whenever you're told that you're not going to be playing for a week, like I have an important course I have to do for work, and it was put down. I do 4 on 4 off. So last night was my last night. I'm not back until Saturday. Saturday is my first day back, and I'm doing an important course all day. So, and I can't get out of that course. That's just back, you know. So, like, it gives you very little time. If it's true now, we had been told that, that's different. But from what I know is we've been, as far as I'm aware, we only found this out last night that we have a match on Saturday, and we're like, you know, we were told different. So
yeah,
ahead or not,
as you said, maybe it's miscommunication, and hopefully these get some sorted there. I suppose, boys, it's just a reminder of how times are and how dangerous, you know, as a club and as a squad you are, could be affected by outside things. Like, and there's St. Patrick, they've seen carried off, beat Longstone, Bransford, and now they're through the senior semi-final. You know, it'd be hard to kick, Budge.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago, Peter, you were thinking about playing carried off. You know, that's what you're focusing on. And now, you are in a vulnerable position there, definitely, as a team.
Well,
you know, mentally, down a bit.
You think now, so I don't want to be, you know, because the circumstances of why the game was switched and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, and fair play, the game was switched, and I think that was the right decision. But originally the game was supposed to be on Monday. So we done a late session on the Friday. We were supposed to get together on the Sunday, but then we got word on the Saturday that the game wasn't going to go ahead Monday. So we said, we're not training Sunday, we'll just train Monday. So we done a late session Friday, met up on the Monday, done a late session on the Monday, prepared for the game on Wednesday. The game's called off on the Wednesday. So technically we haven't done any sort of intense training since, 3 weeks ago tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, when if you're going up and playing a relegation game, it's not really ideal preparation, and especially when boys aren't allowed to leave the house for 14 days up until today, you know what I mean? So it's not an ideal situation at all.
And it's a different type of pressure. Obviously, none of us have played championship relegation playoffs before, but we've probably all played league relegation playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's a different type of pressure to a championship match. Like, it's a different feel to it altogether. But
I know, and it is well, I'm like yourself, coming to the end of my career, and maybe have 1 or 2 years left. I don't know, but I don't fancy going back into intermediate. You know, that's just the way I'm looking at it. But at the minute, you know, it's a very strong possibility that we could be going in there. Just circumstances beyond our own control, you know.
No, I wish, RG, you know, that there is common ground there, and you do get, you know, I'm sure Dark Cross are the same, like, that maybe they'll be sympathetic to your plight. So we'll listen for what happens there. But boys, I suppose be a self-isolation, Peter, you've been watching the games flat out on Park TV. Some great commentating performances.
Oh, there was.
Well, not according to some people on Twitter. I've been called.
I was talking about Patsy there.
Patsy doesn't need it. Patsy doesn't need any more. What do you call it?
Praise
or anything they got there. Like, he's the man, you know. But Jeez, I didn't think people were so strong about commentators. You need to have. I thank God I'm getting paid all this money for it. Like, you know what I mean? But I suppose the Park TV is just taking the football to another level.
It definitely is. It's like, I think it's a great idea. That's what we were talking about there the other day, just between our own WhatsApp group, is basically it's putting the club football back up, in a pedestal where it should be. It's maybe the future, like people saying, like, with other games going on in the county, Tyrone Championship and stuff, some brilliant games, even Antrim hurling, everybody was ranting and raving about their semi-finals. It's maybe a gem that the GAA could maybe go back and look at, instead of just pumping everything into the county scene.
Neil, what about yourself? I suppose you're getting to see more games now as well, and and the standard's been high too.
Yeah, some of the games were great. I really enjoyed Saul and Shamrocks the other day. That game, I thought that was a brilliant game. And then the TV games, I watched Kilcoo and Restraver at the weekend, and then I was doing the line in the other one. And football's been great. I think standard's definitely rising down. Like, it's definitely good football. Like, if you're not getting your £6 worth out of that, by me, go to watch something else.
Tony, would you be up for they're talking about splitting the season half and half now, and giving club football a bit more emphasis on the club football?
Yeah, I think it has to be done. I think split season, it's like a meeting. I've seen something actually today. It may be 2:22
right
before it comes in, but look, I think now the GAA just the COVID actually has. I know it's a bad thing, but it actually has worked now in a blessing disguise, because it has showed maybe the top brass at Croke Park will look at club football, look what it does for community, but also players. You imagine, Script will know this. If you're a county player, sometimes you're getting tugged. You go here, go there. Where it's a split season, look, I don't know where the club goes first or the county goes first, but whatever, I would say county goes first, maybe January to July, and then that leaves the club August right through till, and they can play the provincial champ right through to Christmas. I think, look, it's a cert. It has to, but even financially and all for county boards, clubs, I think it makes sense, and I'd be absolutely shocked if this time next year it's not all sort of set out in stone. It will be. I can't see any way where it won't be a split season.
No,
I think it has to be done, and
I think it might even be a sort of a bit of a split. Clubs might be allowed to play league football, some sort of league, similar to what it was this year, where the leagues didn't really matter that much. Well, it didn't matter at all this year, but going forward, they mightn't really matter that much. They might play a divisional or a geographical type league rather than Division 1, 2, 3, 4.
But the way it works out, Budgie, if the Ireland finals did in July, there's only going to be 2 counties in it. So like clubs are going to have players
from June,
from even it might even be May. Right through. Once you're right, like, and I just think it makes sense. That I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. But I suppose with the condensed season, would you, I suppose your retirement now, it was well announced on from other people on Restraver. How did you come to the decision? Why did you come to the decision? And would you not have given it just maybe one more year at a proper league and another championship run?
No, it's the first year after every game this year. I've been in just in agony with my Achilles and calves and shins and things like that. Never had that before, so I wasn't going to start doing another year and something being worse. Plus, as we all know, we've all children, 3 young children in the house, so it was time hitting 40. There's boys sitting on the bench at 22, 23 years old, and I'm getting on at 40, so let them, they have 5 or 6 years at it. But the condensed season really worked, and it would work it would allow players to play on longer. It definitely would. It was a condensed season. I thought it was great crack, because the last few years, the games you really enjoy are championship matches.
Yeah.
The league, you could have 20 league games. Jeez, it goes on for a long time, but a whole year when you're getting in your mid-30s and that. But the championship games always retain that special feel to them, and you love playing championship football. So this year, that's all it was. As Pete said earlier, the league games they were challenge matches preparing for the championship matches.
Yeah.
And you get in there and you get a couple of big games in your area, whatnot. You really enjoy them.
No,
but the standards, you said, we're watching the matches, some of the other matches on TV.
Mm-hmm.
If you were allowed in the games, there'd be 6, 7, 8,000 at some of them games. Absolutely brilliant. People would just be flocking back to them, really would. There's no doubt about that.
There's been a real hunger or something this year, hasn't it, for Gaelic games like, and it's, and like I said, it's just been brilliant, like, to see even the older names as well playing great stuff again too. Like, I know there's a younger generation just knocking on the door, but there you had last week Aidan Carr and John Boyle still doing the stuff for the respective teams. Like, so it's just it'd be interesting to see now to make this team of the week. So without further ado, I suppose we better go to it. And this week it's Budgie's and Peter's pick. Neil and Doran, you just have to come to an agreed decision now on who's going to make it. So, Budgie, go with your goalkeeper first, and who it is and why.
The only goalie of note this week is the one that saved the penalty in the penalty shootout. So Gary McMahon, 1 point.
Okay, all right. Strange, like, conceded 3 goals, Budgie. Jesus.
But unique penalty shootout.
All right. Scoop, who'd you go for?
I went for Mark Hines. I thought he had an excellent game, kind of. There's a few times Bransford pushed. Just that the momentum sort of was maybe going to tilt back for Bransford. They were sort of 4 or 5 points down at the time, and he made a couple of good saves. I thought he was very good, actually. And he's one of the only 2 keepers, I think, all weekend that didn't concede a goal. Yeah. So, just thought Mark Hines.
Neil, Doran, who's making it this week, boys?
I would agree with Scoop. I would go with Peter Turley. I thought Mark Hines was very good. And as you said, he's only got no goals. Gary made a great couple of penalty saves, but he still conceded. Not that there were any of Gary's faults, but 3 goals I'd be for Mark Hines. That would be my opinion.
Neil, do you concur?
Yeah, have to agree. Yeah, carried off goalkeeper, not conceding a goal.
Budgie.
You can't all be agreement.
Right, Bud, your 2, 3, and 4, your full back line. Did you make it yourself?
No, I didn't go that far now. Campbell from Ballyhole. Now, I didn't see the game, but I've asked a few boys about, because obviously it didn't get on the Park TV for various reasons. But apparently Campbell, quarterback, was very good coming out with the ball. Ryan McAvoy from Kilcoo, classy player, but definitely is. And seeing him up front, like, it's just covers the field. Grace. And a wee red in there, number 4. Tomas Gordon just absolutely destroyed Dara O'Hanlon. Cleaned him. Didn't give him a sniff. I couldn't believe it. Just playing beside him. He really kept us in the game for long periods. So that's my full back line.
All right, Scoop.
I actually, same as Budgie there, I didn't get to the Loughlane Ballyhone game, and I wasn't on TV either. And I thought, with the history with Ballyhone, I thought I have to put somebody in the team. So I was on the phone.
Who'd you put in the fence?
Yes, I put Sean Campbell. So put him in there. Ryan McAvoy, but he was very, very good as well. Excellent. He's, that was always a sort of I wouldn't say it was a problem area for Kilcoo because they don't have too many problems, but if there was an area I think that you could have got at them, that was their full back line. But he's definitely strengthens that up. And I went for a wee red today as well, but it was a red herd boy, Lewis Casement. Blame herd boy, as Patsy would say. I just thought that went through the team, I sort of picked them all out, and I did think he was very good for Bransford. One of the very few boys that actually did turn up on the day. I think that Bransford as a whole would be very disappointed in their performance, obviously. But he was one of the few players that did show up, and I just thought I did want to get one of the players in. Mm-hmm. So went with him.
Doran, go ahead.
Look, you can't really. Yes, young Cam from Ballyhone was at the game on Saturday. Has been very good all year. And as I said, Ryan McAvoy, yes, has been Ryan. Look, Ryan's probably the top 2 or 3 fullbacks in the county at the minute. He would remind you of a young Brenton Rodgers, Slot Neil sometimes, the way he plays out.
Yeah.
Works out and he's playing super football. I would maybe say, I would go with you, Budgie. I thought Tomas Gordon was very, very good. He's a boy I've seen a lot of, and I think he is. I'd probably go with you, Budgie.
I can tell you, it's a fair change in him from last year. Didn't get on the reserve team last year. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
saying he wasn't trying or anything like that, but he's just a different man this year.
He lost some weight, but he didn't he lost some weight over lockdown, like a lot
over
of
lockdown. Yeah, really worked out.
Neil, you happy with them selections then? Did
Yeah.
you get the Ballyhone game at all?
No, I didn't get to the Ballyhone game at all now, but I've heard reports
Mhm.
that young Campbell played really well. I was talking to Joseph Doran. He was very impressed with him now.
Very good.
And he was very impressed with Ballyhone in general. He was saying that now.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll get on to Ballyhone later. Half back line then, Scoop. You can go first. 5, 6, and 7.
Right. I went with, like, I sort of picked my team, and not just, I think if you could have the Brannigans in there and you could have Darren O'Hagan in there, and nobody would ever sort of bat an eyelid, because every week they're putting performances in. So I just went with something different. So I went with Ryan McGee. I thought the first half, when they were really struggling, he was the one man that actually did carry the fight to Clonduff. So I went with him. I went with Ian Carr. Rolling back the years, I think we'll go in. I know we're going to talk about the games later on, but I just think he could play that role for the next 5, 6 years if he wanted to. If the other team were as naive as Warren Point were and just letting them be free, I thought it was a mistake on their behalf. But look, at the end of the day, they won the game, so you could just turn and say it was a masterstroke, really. And Rory Mason, another one I didn't get to the game, and since my neighbours just out the road, I thought they'd complain if I didn't put anybody in from there. So I heard he played very well. So went with him.
I'll crawler pick. Right, Budget, who's your half back line?
To me, these three picked themselves. I didn't go with it. They went for obvious ones because Darren O'Hagan was absolutely brilliant. So he has to get into it. Like he's an unreal player. It's number 6, John Boyle. He only came on with 10 minutes to go, but won the game for 1 point. I couldn't believe when he wasn't playing, and then he was able to play last 10 and extra time. So there's a question mark there, like over 1 point. And the other half back, Danny Guinness from Carryduff. Again, Carryduff were unbelievable in Bransford.
Yeah.
And he was one of the main reasons behind it. Just never stopped. So.
Doran?
I'm going to do.
You can pick one or two. You can pick any three there from that.
I would say I think Paddy Brannigan from Clonduff has to make that team.
So do I. I thought it was superb.
Absolutely. I thought he was, for a young father, the 2 points he kicked was out of this. He was absolutely brilliant.
You've called rank there, Donny. You're just right. Paddy Brannigan's in. Who else?
I do agree. Darren O'Hagan, I thought that was Darren. Yeah. Darren was a serious game the other day, and I thought Warren Point, he was a man put Warren Point in the back foot. I thought he was just, again, Darren was great, but you're always going to get that with Darren. Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree with Budgie. John Boyle made a massive difference, but if you were giving me a choice, Darren or John Boyle, I'd still go with Darren. And I thought, like we mentioned this boy last week, I thought last night at the game, I thought John McGill was absolutely brilliant. He absolutely, just the energy he gives carried off attack. Now, I do agree with Skip. Ryan McGee did actually play very well, yes, and he created the goal, or he got the free. He nearly got a goal, and the referee brought it back for free. But I thought John McGill was superb last night for carried off again. But look, I thought they were the 3 standout halfbacks, so I had seen all weekend.
Neil, leave the final round say here. So Donny's giving you another 3. Pete's giving you 3.
Well,
this is your pick now. This is you get all the grief.
Well, I would be going with Darren O'Hagan.
Okay.
For definite, and Daniel McGuinness and Paddy Brannigan. They were the 3 I seen.
There you are now.
Over the weekend.
2 out of my 3.
They are.
And not one of mine.
Right, Scoop. If you don't get this here, there's no point.
That's it. I picked look, come on. At the end of the day, you don't even have to go to matches, and you could say Darren O'Hagan and put him in there. You know what I mean? That's why he used to train with him as well. That's the way that man trains as well. 2-3 nights a week. Mm-hmm. He doesn't lower standards. He doesn't go easy. Just 100 miles an hour all the time, full intensity. Yeah, and that's just exactly the way he is. And it's just the way DNA. But that's why I didn't go with him, obviously. But my midfield.
Scoop. You don't have to justify yourself.
No, I know.
You know what I mean?
Right, I'm going to my midfield.
Right, go ahead.
Midfield. And it's not any of the people that you normally sort of put in there. I just thought 2 boys that really impressed me, as in, really for sort of time getting proper good look at them. I just thought that's why I put them in. was Ross Carr. Thought he was very good for Clonduff. And I went with Josh Connery. Basically got the first goal in the first 40 seconds. He actually throw in, went in. I think Clonduff or Brantford won it. He actually intercepted a pass from Danny Savage in the half back line and ended up 20 seconds later sticking the ball in the back of the net. So, you know, just thought he deserved it.
Yep. Budget. You're 2-0.
Not a whole lot of controversy here. I have Josh Connery as well. He was unbelievable the whole match.
Yeah.
And I was nearly at Ross Carr, but I went for his partner, Tom Close.
Well, I put him in the half
He's
forward
good
line.
as well.
Yeah, I have him in the half forward line.
I put him in midfield.
Well, so, Doran, I'm sure you've got a view on
Josh
this.
Connery, yes, Josh Connery and me was again outstanding. Definitely deserves. Tom Close scoop your right wing half forward where he put the R8. He was very good. The other midfield, like Ross, was very good. You could have picked anybody, but I was going to go with Scoop here.
There you are.
You've done well. You've picked right.
Redeemed yourself. Neil.
Where did Paul Murphy play at for Ballyhone?
Midfield.
There. Paul Murphy. Outstanding. That's what I was told there today as well. He threw his heart and everything into every ball. And he doesn't get half the credit he deserves for Ballyhone.
He's going to have to come up with something there, boys.
But again, I see this that I didn't get to see. That's the problem.
Well, again, I was at this game, and I think Lough Island made a massive bid. And for 40 minutes, Lough Island give Ballyhone the kick out.
Right.
Once Lough Island pushed up, Dan Gordon, Johnny Flynn, these boys just cleaned Ballyhone out. Once Ballyhone pushed up, Lough Island pushed up with 20 minutes left, went man and man, and made the Ballyhone keeper kick the ball down. And once it was kicked out long, Lough Island cleaned it out.
That's strange. That's a strange decision when you got man here that size, like, isn't it?
But once they pushed, like Lough Island, Ballyhone were 6 up, and Lough Island decided to push up. And once they pushed up, they were a completely different team.
Yeah,
and
big man, like.
Big man.
We'll go with Ross Carr then and Josh Connery then. So that's our midfield. Number 10, 11 and 12, Budgie, you've got the first picks so Peter can copy some of his.
I'll go for, again, very impressive. I've seen him a couple of times and it's the first time really I've really been impressed with him. Wing forward, Jerome Johnson, centre forward for the crew was just brilliant. He was fantastic. And I've gone wing forward. Well, he might actually play in the corner, but again, third-hand information, this man changed the game when he came on. John McGovern for Ballyhone. Young fella, 18.
Yeah,
Special talent.
Yeah.
And scored the goal in extra time, scored the equaliser, I think, in the normal time. Did he, Mark? You were out?
No, Lough Island scored the equaliser.
He scored.
He came on, scored a goal. Yeah, he came on. He was very good now, and he came on. I actually think Ballyhone have got that they're bringing him on the last 15-20 minutes. And you know, Budgie, if you're running about after somebody, the next thing you see this here coming on.
Well, seemingly they couldn't hear him.
No, to be fair, he was really, really good.
He's put on a lot of size too, don't he? Hasn't he? Like,
he has the upper bodies definitely. Yeah. Ronnie Murda is taking claim. Ronnie has him in the gym. To be fair,
he'll be top heavy shortly enough then.
Scoop, who are you going for?
Very similar. I went with James Guinness. I was actually disappointed with him when I watched him against Longstone. I thought he was poor enough. I think he's very, very, really good player, brilliant player. And for his own standards, I thought he was poor against Longstone. He brought it back there the other night, or last night. He was brilliant. He carried the ball, he was tackling, he was winning ball back, he was shooting, and when most of his shots he did hit this time were scores. I thought he was excellent. Jerome Johnson's another one. You don't really have to say too much about Jerome. I put him in number 11, class act. And I went with Tom Close in the wing half forward. I just thought that was a big problem for one point. I think he was sort of isolated in Ram Boyle, and he Ram has been brilliant so far, but I thought he really struggled with Tom Close in the air. You know, a lot of the kickouts Tom won for them.
Yeah. Doran, Neil is happy enough with who he's going for?
I'm a Scoop again. Scoop, you're pulling it out of the bag now. That James Guinness again, outstanding last night. Jerome again, 1-4 from play. Can't argue that. And I thought Tom Close was outstanding for Clonduff on Sunday night. Just as high fetching, as an athlete. Like Ryan Boyle can match anyone for speed, nearly pacing it. And Tom, he was actually struggling a couple of times with Tom, and I thought like Tom Close was exceptional on Sunday night.
That's what I actually thought. He wasn't afraid. Like he was taking every time he seen Ryan Boyle, he was eyeing him up and taking him on. You know what I mean?
Oh no, he was going at him. He was.
Yeah.
Tom Close was very, very give Clonduff serious energy. I would be them three. Scoop would be on the money with me.
Neil, anyone else you want to be considered, or?
No, I have to agree with them. 3 players I've seen over the weekend were very good.
Tom Close, I suppose he's one that got away. Scoop for you is Patrick Blood.
There.
Big Closey, way. So, full forward line, Budge. Come on, Budge, now.
I had Tom Close as well, but I just had him in midfield.
Actually, you mustn't have watched the match at all.
I did. As I said, I couldn't really remember it.
Full forward line.
My old mate Ross, Gary, corner forward. Now he missed a vital free at the end of the end of the game, but he made up for that penalty. It was brilliant. But he had a good game. BD carried off full forward again. Carried off very impressive. And like he was up against 2-3 players and he was out winning it and laying it off, taking men on. He was brilliant. And the man that thought made a big impact in the match again, one point, was Big Arthur. Sort of rolled back the years, put on a big show, scored a vital equaliser in that game as well. So that's my 3.
Good.
Yeah, well, I couldn't argue with any of them there, to be honest. But I went with Ross. I thought Ross was excellent. He missed a free to win it near the end. He had a short free one time. You know, everything he had hit, but up until then, you know, he had scored, and then there was a free that I thought was well within his range. Now I don't know. Obviously, when you're watching it, it's different. You don't know what the wind was like or whatever. But he decided to go short, and it ended up fucking way back into the midfield, I thought. But other than that, there, like the long balls going in, he won balls he had no right to win, and just thought he was excellent. I went for Conor Laverty. I just think he's, you know, everything goes through him with Kilcoo, and sooner he retires, the more chance the rest of the teams have.
Budgie, what about the point he scored? It came back off the crossbar. There was people laying on him. There was, I don't know who else was laying on him. He flicked it over the bar from behind, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
And then I went for another Clonduff one, and it wasn't Arthur. It was Barry O'Hagan. I thought Barry was another one. Yes, Arthur was class, and you'd have no complaints. You could put in Barry or Arthur, but I just thought Barry was marking, or Squeak was marking Barry. I just thought he was another one that Clonduff. It was the same with Tom Close. Just every time he got the ball, you know, he eyed up and Squeak, and I just ran at him.
I haven't seen Ryan McLean being moved off Sunday, and that was the first time I've ever seen it. Cormac McCartan had to go on him.
I just thought Barry was brilliant. I just thought he still does, until Barry can change that. He still shoots when he, you know,
he's a wee bit wasteful.
Yes, that's the thing, and he was like that whenever we were playing with Down together, and you just try to say to him, like, Barry, you know, recycle the ball. You know, if the shot's not on, you know, don't shoot, recycle the ball. I think he's still doing that, but he's improved massively from that. He's not doing it anywhere near as much. I think he will continue to improve, and he was class on night, so he deserves to be in the team, to be honest.
Neil, have you any more suggestions, or who would you go for the full forward spots?
Well, Barry O'Hagan was brilliant, I thought, the other night. I thought he was really, really, really good. Really good. Ross McGarry was good as well. But for me, the best player I seen full forward line was Arthur McConville. I thought Arthur was brilliant. He was everywhere. The managers were shouting at him to go to midfield, go half back, half forward. He was everywhere. And I thought Arthur was my star man over the weekend. If I seen him a full forward, tell you that.
Yeah. Doran, final pick.
There's a case I made with all them, but I think there's a man left out, to be fair, and he's been left out probably the last lot of weeks. Shimmy Loughran from Ballyholme. I think just what he gives Ballyholme, and maybe doesn't score a big lot from play, but if there's a dead ball 50, 60 yards out, he doesn't miss. And look, Ballyhone's in the semi-final of the championship. He's probably the top scorer from there. And yes, I know he mightn't score a big lot from play, but from dead balls, and he's just a serious weapon for Ballyhone. And watching the other day, like he kicked the point that won them the game. And it's like, if you're playing against Ballyhone now, your team's thinking, well, we give a free inside 60 yards. He ain't missing. Now you actually, like, I seen him again in Longstone 2 weeks ago, and that was the difference. He kicked 10 frees and they weren't that they were 14 or 21 yard frees. And we'll watch him quite a bit for down under 20s last year. I think he has to, just for what he's given Ballyhone, he would be in my team. I agree with other Barry O'Hagan, I think has to play too, because I agree with Scoop. Barry probably up until lockdown was probably Down's best player. Yeah. Just because I agree with it, but we've done serious work on this year just in his decision making. And I thought now he did. I've seen Ryan, he really give Ryan a hard time of it. And Corey McCurtain has moved on. And I think, I would go with Ronan Beattie too. I think Ronan, like, if the goal, the way he took his goal, it's just, you're asking forward, you're asking us inside forward. How many times do you see an inside forward going one-on-one with the keeper and blasting it? He just passed it low along the ground into the goal. I think the M3 now.
He was in the panel, don't he? Was he? Ronan Beattie was in the panel. Yes.
Look, he was in and out, but look, he was in and he was in again. When you're looking at down full forward line, he was up again. Jerome, Barry O'Hagan, Corey Quinn, Doran, like, and it was just, you can pick. And to be fair, Roman's only a young fella. He's still, look, the way he's playing the championship, he may have to be looked at again. He's a great lad. Just wants to learn. Yeah. And he's been really impressive for carried off this. He's probably been carried off best player throughout the championship. But and the boys said about Lavery. Conor Lavery was first 20 minutes was absolutely brilliant for Kilcoon, as you said to go. But I think what I seen all weekend, I think Shimmy Locker, Ronan Beattie, and Barry O'Hagan would be my three.
But Doran, you get the last pick, so there you go. That's the top three. Boys, that's the senior team of the week. We'll just talk about the senior games now. Obviously, the draw for the semi-finals been made, and I suppose I don't mean to be like, against Ballyhone to carried off, but it's the draw people didn't want. Would you agree, Neil? Like, people would want the Kilcoo 1 point final after everything. Ballyhone carried off playing the other semi-final, but it's a great opportunity for one of them teams now to play a senior football championship final, and it's magnificent for one of them.
Yeah, you think of that carried off team that's won under 21 titles 2 or 3 years in a row. They're coming through. You think of Ballyhone has won a couple of minor titles as well there, and all these players are all coming to fruition now. So it's good to see a young team, a different team, getting to the final. For me, I know it probably, well, if the county board had been able to get people in, they would want that as the final, wouldn't they? Warren Point and Kilcoo, obviously, but it's not going to happen this year. So I'd love to see that. I'd love to see lesser teams getting there. Maybe not lesser teams, but you know what I mean. Not big 2 or 3 that get every year and seem to be about. It's great to see that. Especially with them teams coming through and all. They're very young. There's not, like, if you take Paul Murphy out of Ballyhone, there's not too many old players in that team. No, definitely not. Good to see.
But Warren Point, if there's ever a path to a final that was going to be earned, it's them. Like, it's unbelievable. Like,
which is why I think they're not going to do it. I can't see a team winning all them games. That's unreal. They've been put to the pin of their collar every game. Whereas Kilcoo, let's be realistic, against Rostrevor and Bourne, they weren't. Maybe the first half against Bourne, yes, but the second half, they won easing up. Again, they kept us at arm's length. They had the big match again, the Point, but it got them in their stride. The Point have been full medal, every game, and they showed a big weakness the other day, like the difference John Boyle makes. What do you think Kilcoo's going to do? They're just going to someone marking him, like. Just going to mark him. That's anybody would do that. Anyone in the right mind. Everybody's talking about leaving Aidan Carr free. You're not going to leave John Boyle free now either. But to win all the games, to beat Bourne, Kilcoo, Clonduff, Kilcoo again, and then win the final. I just can't see that.
It would be well
happening.
And Ballyhone carried off. Ballyhone's second year now in a row getting the semi-final, and it's probably more this time that they're not. Would they be slight favourites, do you think, or underdogs against Cardiff? How do you think this one?
I think Ballyhone will be carried off, yeah. I think carried off may well eventually be a better team. But like they've played one good game this year in the championship, really. That's, you know, they've an easy path, haven't they, Skip? You know?
That's what I was going to say. If you look compare
You
them,
know.
man, you can only beat who they play. You know what I mean?
I know.
They're going to be, if they do overcome Ballyhone, which I fancy Ballyhone, but if they did, like they'll have got to the final by beating Ballyhone, Cransford, and Longstone. You know.
Yeah.
Whereas you compare that to 1 point, if they get to the final, it's Cuckoo twice, or Bournemouth and Clonduff.
Big turning point for carried off was those last 10-15 minutes against Stone. Like the Stone had them.
I know.
But all of a sudden they just found something.
I'm not talking about that budget.
They changed something, and they carried it into the last match there against Bransford as well, and they just wiped the floor of Bransford.
They did.
Once they got into their stride.
Donny, what do you think's put it down to carried offs? You know, Ballyhone have just been going along nicely in this championship. Carried off had they got their eyes opened a bit against Clonduff, and then, you know, that, as Fudgy says, there was a wake up call against the Stone, because like for that first half it was all Longstone. You were already booking your ticket, I think, for the quarterfinals.
No, look, to be fair, look, when you carried off, they've been coming. There's nearly won a couple under 21 championships. If there's one weakness, I still think their full back line is very weak. I think they can be got at, and I do think Ballyhone in the big field, like Ballyhone with Shamie Locker and Tiernan Rush, Jack Murdoch, Mark Walsh, and then, as you say, John McGovern to come in. I fancy just Ballyhone. I think Ballyhone will have enough. Again, carried off will rely up front. Ronan Beatty, the wee Joe Tonley, the two Guinnesses, the Daniel, the Bat McCabe. I think they're very sound. Donal McKeever's a massive loss. Yeah. For carried off around the middle, because you can play Donal McKeever midfielder, you can play him at full back, and plus Sean McGonigal is a massive miss. Now, I think I took his name wrong last week, but Sean,
you got me in trouble last week, yeah.
Carried off. Sean McGonigal's been playing sweeper for carried off his last 3 or 4 years, and he's done it superbly. And they've lost. I don't know. I hear there's a disagreement with the manager, and he's quit. I know if I was carried off man tonight, and some people say, "Oh, let him go." You're in a semi-final of the championship. Sean McGonigal will make a big, massive difference. You've one chance to get the final. And I agree with Neil. It's absolutely brilliant for them two clubs. But I think I said I watched Ballyhone in a league game against Bourne earlier on in the year. I know Carrick beat them in the first game of the league up in Ballyhone, which not many teams go and do. I watched Carrick again, I watched Ballyhone again Bourne a week later, and I was just very impressed. I think they're introducing a lot of them minors. They have now serious pace. The way they're playing, yes, they're still getting men back, but they've 4 boys up front. They're flyers, and I think in Uri, them boys will love it. And I just think Ballyhone are too much for them. But
plus, they'll be hurting from last year.
But Kerry
semi-final last year, they got trimmed by the point.
But I do think Kerry Duff are a team coming, and they have been coming this last couple of years, and it's good to see. I think it's good for down football. A big Kerry Duff massive pick, and it's good to see them. But and from a Longstone point of view, you're maybe hoping Ballyhone do nip them. Just
yeah. Now, you know, with Ballyhone and Kerry Duff, it's probably 2 different styles here coming up against each other. You know, Kerry Duff wouldn't be known as a counter-attacking team, and you know, Ballyhone obviously throughout the years, I know they're changing a wee bit, but you know, whenever you're refereeing it, and that Ballyhone in the past have been relying on frees. You know, as a referee, are you aware of, you know, the different counter-attacking tactics that teams need as well?
Oh yeah, you are definitely. Yeah, definitely. See, like you nearly know the teams that's going to do short kickouts. You nearly know the teams do long kickouts. You're trying to get yourself into position. No, doesn't happen all the time. But you're trying to get yourself into position for their break, because usually, like Ballyhone or these teams get around the 45. When they break at pace, like defenders can't keep up with them. It's hard for referees to keep up with them as well. You know, so you're trying to get in between the lines to try and keep up. You know, but I've been very impressed with Ballyhone. I've seen them twice, and I didn't see them the other day now because it was Newcastle your game. But very impressed. There's a shape to them, especially against Longstone now, and they were very quick on the break. If Mark was there, he would have seen it. They knew what they were doing, and they worked hard. They never stopped for the whole time. I wouldn't say Longstone were really bad that game. I just think Ballyhone was just that bit better.
And have you seen much of Carried Off, Neil?
No, I haven't. All in the TV. Yeah. All in the TV. I haven't seen any of them live at all this year now.
over the years, though, carried off, as Doran was saying, the under-21s are coming through, but it's about how they sort of probably progress through into senior football. Budgie, would you agree? Like, you know, it's all right being an under-21 and no real expectations, but whenever you get up the senior football, it's a different story.
Well, like, we're talking about carried up tonight, and they're a big topic because of the performance last night against Bransford. But like 2 weeks ago, they were playing Clonduff, or 3 weeks ago, they were playing Clonduff and got hammered. You know, Clonduff and Alley, and people were saying, where are all these county players in carried off? I don't know how many county players have, loads of them.
16,
and again, Longstone,
says.
it was
The 3 budget.
oh,
Not loads, 3.
and again, Longstone, they were poor as well till the last 10 minutes. So they've had one good game. Now, they were really good in that, but how good were Bransford on the other side, we're not so sure. So the thing about it is, you watched the game last night, and those guys, those big names that they have, the Guinnesses, you know, the Beatty in full forward, Connery in midfield, like they really were impressive. And you can see they've worked not only on, you know, they've been working in the gym.
Yeah,
those guys they're well put together. So they haven't left or sat in their laurels from winning under-21 championships. They've done the work, so they're putting it in to produce senior football. Just whether they're good enough or not, then is going to be the question.
Scoop, but probably, you know, it's probably a sore point that, you know, you look at the draw and, you know, it's probably the first time that Patrick wouldn't have played Kilcoo in some form of anywhere in the lead up to a semi-final of a championship. Like, and, you know, it's just one of them things, is it? Like, there's nothing you can do. And
no, you just look at the draw. But, you know, it is very frustrating, and especially just the way everything went, you know. And to be honest, you know, the way I watched the game, carried off versus Clonduff, and we were going up to play them, and like I really like, I know what you said there, like they didn't play well against Longstone. I actually watched that game as well, and I was like scratching my head after about 10 minutes saying, how did Longstone lose that game and lose it by so much, you know? And I was just basically I think Daniel Guinness in the last 10 minutes just punched holes in the Longstone defence, whether they were tired or whatever, and they got goals from it, you know. And they got really big turnovers from it, but it is frustrating, you know. But at the end of the day, I've played for that paddock for long enough. I know we could have went out and get beat by any of them teams as well, you know what I mean? We could have won, right chance, you know. I think I would have been confident going into the game, but at the same time, you know, where inconsistency is a big sort of key and problem with us at the minute as well, or if it has been for a while. You know, we put in some good games, like last season, you beat Burn in Burn, you beat Kilcoo at home, and you still managed to get relegated, you know.
Yeah.
It's just has been. But you're right there with avoiding Kilcoo and any sort of chip, because like any time we played 1 point and stuff, I know they're very going well at the minute, but any time we played 1 point in the championship, you know, I don't like we've always said, well, only barely played them, or we drew them, and then we're given, you know, a bit of a hammer in that second game.
Yeah,
that was a few years ago. But yeah,
that was the coach. The coach done that their work.
Oh, that's right. It would have been nice to go on a bit of a run in a few games away to avoiding Kilcoo. It would have been really nice.
With Kilcoo 1 point, then, man, I suppose, you know, the big thing is that game that in the second round, I think it was, who learnt more, and, you know, will that have a burn? Will that earlier game have a burn? I suppose go to you first, Doran. Do you think it'll have much say in it?
I think it will, simply because I think Warrenpoint I think I said it before the Bourne game, Warrenpoint needed mentally to beat the Bourne and Kilcoo. Because look, if Kilcoo had beat them again, and Warrenpoint boys in their head been thinking, we just can't beat them. And like you were at it, and everybody's seen it on TV, like you can't say Kilcoo weren't holding back that night. You get like 2 games just went, and I think Warrenpoint will take massive confidence from knowing that we can beat these boys. We can beat these boys now, where in years going up to the final last year, and we talk about easy runs, and look, Warrenpoint got a nice run to the final last year. I think they beat Longstone in the quarterfinals and Ballyholme in the semi-finals. Now this year they've got the draw from hell. But to be fair, I'm a great believer in they've won all. They come through them games tough. Yes, they've been tested, but Now Michael Leanan and Ollie Sloan and these boys and Barney McLean is sitting going, well, look, we know what these boys are capable of now. They've been put to the pin of their colour and they won't back down. And I would give them a fight. I just wouldn't write them off completely. They are the two best teams in Down by a country mile. Warrenpoint, I do believe Warrenpoint did take Clonduff for late, a wee bit lately. They are late. I do believe like Clonduff, Warrenpoint pushed 14 men at one time, went to full press on a Clonduff kick out. 14 men, they pushed everybody up. That won't happen again. Kilcoo, they won't do that. They played without a sweeper the first 20 minutes. Then when they got 3 goals and threw up Ryan McGee back to sweeper, I do think Warrenpoint learned an awful lot from the RNA, but I do think you probably know you're wanting about Warrenpoint this last couple of weeks. There's Warrenpoint, the players, management can try and keep players feet in the ground all they want, but you know they're walking in and out of shops or up and down the street, and after beating Bornicle, you would have Joe Soap and John Bloggs telling you, oh, you are brilliant.
You're lucky ours is closed.
Yeah, well, you are the best. You are brilliant and brilliant. And look, and then no doubt the draw was made after Clonduff again. Warrenpoint people were probably telling Clonduff, or Warrenpoint people were telling Warrenpoint players, look, you are eyes will be at Clonduff easy, no matter how much you say, oh, we're focused. Look, if enough people's telling players that, it does get inside your head. And I do think that game actually I think that might just have sharpened Warrenpoint's edge. It's got them back focused again. And look, I'm not saying they'll Kilcoo, just with their whole experience and the motivation, I think Kilcoo will win it, but I just wouldn't write Warrenpoint off yet but as a game, look, as somebody said about the crowd, if this game was a normal, you get 10 or 12,000 at it now. It is the two best teams in Down.
Yeah.
Warrenpoint will probably say, look, for Warrenpoint people going, it would be massive for their club, but then you're talking about, I say, with the team that wants it more, like Kilcoo, you talk about hunger. Kilcoo Championship, 7 and 8 championship medals in their pocket. There's that relentless hunger, and Kilcoo just have you would still fancy Kilcoo, but I wouldn't rule Warrenpoint out. I think Warrenpoint will take great confidence, knowing they beat them already. They beat Bourne, they beat Hilltown. Yes, people say, oh, they're Kilcoo's coming in at a nice. I think sometimes when you're a run like that, there you nearly think, well, look, we come from 9 points down, or 6 points or 7, whatever it was against Clonduff, and we won the game. We beat Bourne, we beat the point, we beat Kilcoo already, and I think Warrenpoint have no fear.
Neil, see, whenever you're refereeing a game like that, can you feel the intensity and the, is it? I suppose both teams are going to be playing on the edge as well. Do you allow for that, or how do you approach it?
I approach every game the same. It wouldn't make any difference to me if it was under 12 or it was senior championship final.
Right.
Maybe different referees are different, but you can feel the intensity if it's because there's no crowd and you actually hear more people shouting at you now. If that makes sense, you can hear what they're saying. But whenever there's I
must remember that.
When there's 2,000 or 3,000 and you don't hear nothing, you just hear noise. That's all you hear. Yeah. But no, I done the line in the first game and. Warrenpoint were good, don't get me wrong, but Kilcoo played that game, 40 minutes of that game, with only 14 men. They had 2 black cards, 2 separate black cards, and Warrenpoint only beat them by a point. And they had a great goal chance, a double goal chance, Kilcoo, and missed a free kick as well. So there's nothing between them teams. This game will be really, really close, and I think Kilcoo, I'll disagree more, I think Kilcoo have learned more about the point than the point have about Kilcoo.
Well, I suppose you two have played against both teams and that, and me just looking on from after the first meeting between the two, Kilcoo budgie to me looked a hell of a lot slicker. They were just going through the gears nice and easy, and they just had a different way about them playing use. Warrenpoint sort of stuttered against Clonduff. Now the rest of the man, I don't know if he was injured, but if he wasn't injured, how could he play 30 minutes? Like, was he being rested for the next match? Were they taking it Clonduff too lightly? Do you think Warrenpoint? I just don't think they're sitting at even keel here.
Yeah, and it's come back to the case of look at the games they've had. They've probably picked up more knocks than Kilcoo have. Their games have been more intense than Kilcoo's have. I would say. They left it late to bring John Boyle on, didn't they? Like they were near gone, but the difference he made was unbelievable. And when you play 1 point, you realise that as well. You realise that Boyle controls the game. Kilcoo's different. You can maybe say Laverty has a big impact for Kilcoo, but he doesn't control the game because he's that far up the field.
Yeah.
You know, Kilcoo's different. Kilcoo are just coming from everywhere. You know, where the point they come from him. He dictates the traffic really. So I think that really showed against Clonduff, and Kilcoo will just nail in that. You know, and they're now just sitting up. They've gone through the gears. They're just ready to explode it. I think in the first game against 1 point, Kilcoo were the better team. 1 point won it because they had that hunger. They really did. And some of their players just came up with magical moments to pull back. Midfielder. You know, the forward line did not really have a threat against Kilcoo. Like we're talking about Ross there. What happened? Donna McLean has been mentioned a number of weeks probably in this show.
Yeah.
You know, that they didn't really have a threat against Kilcoo other than Ryan Boyle was obviously brilliant that day. You had the full back and the midfielder. You know, we're coming up scoring points. So all those things, we all know Kilcoo, and they'll know that as well. And they'll have those guys shut down. So all the boys are going to have to come up, start up the plate for 1 point. It's going to have to be McLean and McGarry, Alan Davidson, these guys. They're going to have to show their hand this time. You know,
Budgie, sorry to interrupt you,
you,
Budgie. Just on the 1 point and Kilcoo game the first day, we're talking about John Boyle. Like John Boyle was very, very quiet the first day against Kilcoo. If you think, I thought Eugene Brannigan, I thought Kilcoo pulled the masterstroke. They played Eugene Brannigan on John Boyle.
On him.
And he was absolutely brilliant. But I just watched John Boyle coming on the field the hour night, and for 10 minutes he didn't do a big lot, but the thing on the ball. But the thing noticeable sitting in the stand was he absolutely organised.
Yeah.
He was telling boys go there.
That's me, yeah.
But Doran, do you think even his presence?
Monk used to try to do that for
us. that's where usually went around then.
But do you think even with his presence in the full back line with Clonduff were reluctant to kick the ball in as well? Like, you know, it seemed that, and Paddy Murdoch seemed to grow more into the game. He must have made 5 or 6 runs after John Boyle came on.
Yeah, I think like the first 10 minutes, John, and he obviously is, and he's something wrong with Gaff, but it was just the first 10, it was so noticeable. He was just standing, he stood at centre half back and he told this, there, he just orchestrated the whole thing without getting on the ball. He seemed to get boys, talk them into the once twice you said in the game, then John started getting on the ball and pushing up. Now, again, Kilcoo, but that's what I'm making the point. He was very, very quiet against Kilcoo. And 1 point still won the game. And 1 point won the game without Ross McGarry and Donny McAleenan and these boys firing. Now Neil said there I said 1 point, I think Kilcoo have learned more. I've no doubt Kilcoo have learned more. I never said they hadn't learned more, but I just said 1 point will take great confidence. If 1 point we're going into this game on Sunday and saying, well, we were beat 2 weeks ago by them, or beat a game by them. But they'll go into the game on Sunday going, well, we have beat these boys.
Scoop,
they've only one thing, and mind, that's to win championship. Like.
Yeah,
you can see it in everything they do, and you can feel it when you're playing them. You definitely can, like. So they truly believe that they're going to win the Down championship. There's no doubt about that. They truly believe that, like.
Scoop, what do you think? What do you think of who will learn more, and you know the way the game could go here? I know 1 point have added Alan Davidson to their forward line as well, which will be a big help.
Yeah, like I can understand. You're just listening there. I understand both points, but at the same time, like beating Kilcoo is hard to do once. Beating them twice in the same championship, I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. I think if 1 point had to get beat, I can understand you need the confidence and you need, you know, the psychological benefits of beating them. But if they had to beat them, maybe if they beat them there this year and then if they play them next year, then in knockout, they might help them. But I just think I beat them twice in the one season. I just don't think it's going to have 1 point. Because I still think they could have, like I'm going to say, write them off already. I'm not writing them off. Like they definitely can. They can still do it. I don't see them doing it. Still, I think they obviously still can. But if they had played them in knockouts, first of all, I'd have fancied them more. Do you know what I mean? The fact that they've already beat them, and it was a knockout, that when the draw came out and they played them, I was on the phone to Davison, I was talking to him, and I was just like, this is not the draw you want. You know, I know obviously you don't want to play them, but if you are going to beat them, you're only going to do it once.
Quarter-final or semi-final or final.
Yeah, it had to be a knockout. It had to be, there was no comeback for Kilcoo. Like, now they've beat them. I see them doing it again. I don't think it can happen. I just think Kilcoo, there's just everything, you know what I mean? There's no, as I said earlier on, there's no weaknesses really. And I think, like, what way 1 point did beat them last time with Ryan Boyle and stuff, going at them and getting the fouls and stuff like that there and causing all sorts of mayhem. I think maybe teams haven't really been doing that against Kilcoo, you know what I mean, for a while. And I think maybe it took them a bit by surprise, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't think it'll happen against Kilcoo. I just like for down football, it'd be nice to see another champion. To be honest, nobody wants to see the same team winning, dominating the football championship. And obviously, I'm speaking here now as if they've already got it won. Obviously, they don't, but I just don't see any team beating them. I just think they're the best team in the county, and you get them once maybe, but it has to be a knockout. You know what I mean? I don't think they'll do it twice.
Well, lads, I'll get your predictions then. I'll start with you, Neil, for the two games: Kilcoo versus Warren Point and Ballyholden versus Cardiff. Who's your winners and who's going to be contesting the final, do you think?
I'm going to go for Kilcoo and Ballyholden.
Doran?
I'll see it.
Kilcoo and Ballyholden.
Scoop?
What are you? You're begging up the point there.
No, yes. I'm saying of a chance. It's not. It's
Drunk Senior's been on them. Drunk Senior's just sent a text message there.
Kilcoo still are Ulster champions. That's the way you look at it. But it would not surprise me. I think people are writing Warren Point completely off. I think that's
yeah.
No, I don't. I'm not writing them off at all.
I think Warren Point's not. They're not that far away. But I do agree with Scoop. What you said, a very wise man told me a few years ago. I remember Castlewellan threw them in the championship in Hilltown. Now's not the time to beat them.
Yeah.
We didn't beat them anyway. Now's not the time to beat them.
Yeah.
And I do agree with Scoop, but I think Kilcoo and Ballyholden.
Budget?
Yep, three of them. Kilcoo, Ballyholden.
And Scoop?
Yeah. You know, I can't see.
So that's the Warren Point carried off final.
What happened?
You tipped that, yep.
We'll leave it there then. So, very good. All right, boys. On to the big stuff now. The intermediate. This is where the main championship, where it's all happening and everyone's talking about it. So, Doran, your top 15 players for this weekend. Neil, you were at maybe some of the games, were you, at the intermediate?
I was at the Mall bar. I didn't get to the Gaff and Banbridge game, but I was in Athlone and Ramara on Friday night in Leitrim. I just have to mention, I never Leitrim facilities is their new field. It was unreal setup to have down there. That's the first time I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
And I was at your game on Saturday. I was at the Kingdom and Leitrim. I'd seen the three of the games, and I have to say, the standard, I thought the standard was really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially the Saul and Shamrock's game and the Kingdom and Leitrim game. Like you championship game, just the intensity of both games was great.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really good now.
Neil, did you get into any intermediate games
I was at Shamrocks and Saul. That's the only one I was at down at your game now.
Uh-huh.
It was a good game. Really impressed. Like, that was as good a goal as I've seen in Gaelic football. That Shamrock's third goal. Absolutely brilliant.
If you haven't seen it yet, Dean McKeown's goal for Shamrocks was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He chipped.
Brilliant.
He chipped per Jack and the boy in the line, but it was some effort. You have to see it. Right, Doran, go ahead for your intermediate team of the week then.
I went with Owen Cotter and goals from Leitrim. I think they'd be very see them against Shamrocks the week before that. Shamrocks or 2 weeks before that. I thought the other day his kickouts were very good. I thought when the Kingdom went 2 points in front, 10 minutes in the second half, was very good. Full back line of went with a long stone man playing at corner back. Mark McGrady from Saul scored a brilliant goal. Not often corner back from long stone scores a goal. It must be Conrad and Raphael Hahien must have done that. Full back from Leitrim and at left corner back again. I went with Benny McYard. Even though Benny started at left half back, but went back in there. I thought half back line. I went with Damien. I thought it was, you mentioned there, it was, I can't remember seeing any better goal in Championship football to do that. Look, if that was done in a Dublin Senior Championship game or down in Kerry or an inter-county football done it would be people raving about it. I thought from Gaff. I didn't see from Gaff game myself, but I've watched from Gaff again Ballymorton in a league game, and I've seen their first half of their game again in Rake. I thought I went my way from Leitrim. Cormac Mayer, I thought he was very, very good, tigerish, won a lot of ball. Midfield, I went with Liam Millington. I thought Liam, just in a wee tight field when Leitrim needed to win ball, he won serious amount of ball. And I went with Gary McYardle from Anaclone. Like in the first half, Dromara just were kicking ball out, and Gary just was eating it up all day long. Dromara couldn't get the ball out by the 45 simply because Gary McYardle was just cleaning there. Now he could have put Pearce over McGregor. Was very unlucky not to get into that midfield. But look, if you put two Leitrim people in, you might. I says no, we'll go with Gary. The half forward line, I went with Rory O'Hare from Saul. Now I know you started in there, but I actually think he's far better when he's at the edge of square. He kicked 4 points. He's a serious, for a big man, he has serious skill. I seen him playing for Castle in a league game, and I was very impressed with him. Number 11, Kieran Harney, again, just a wee bundle of energy. Like Kieran was in and out of the county squad. He's kicked 6 points from frees, but he's just like a bundle. He's everywhere in his playmaking. He's serious, brings serious energy. Left half forward, went with Shea Bourne from Gaff. And I've seen him playing just what you want in the wing half forward. He's up and down. He can kick scores either foots. Really impressed with him. Full forward line, I went with Shane McCampbell, another Dungaff lad. I've seen him, I've mentioned, I've seen him again Ballymorton and Dungaff, and serious pace up front. And Shane, I think he scored very, very good last week again. Bambridge at full forward. I've seen it all now. With Pearce, I know he lined out there and you brought him out, but Pearce Lavery Pearce kicked the winning point, and I couldn't believe when I seen him lining up for it. I said he's going to have a go because Pearce not maybe his feet wouldn't be the most reliable. It was a serious kick, and it was a brilliant score. Won the game, and then at left corner forward, I went with Conor McGregor, and I thought Conor McGregor just was on fire the other day, and Kingdom could do nothing with him. I think he scored maybe 1-8. If he had scored when he missed, he could end up with 2-12, 2-13. But I thought Conor's a serious footballer. I remember watching him again playing for down under 20s 2 years ago again Derry, and you were earmarking this. And I know he's had a lot of injuries, and it's good to see Conor back. But that's the 15 of went with. Now there was Ryan Mackey, young fellow from the Kingdom, played left half back, had a very good game. Maybe unlucky, as mentioned. Piers Oak was lucky. Mark Owens from Leitrim also was very good. Ryan Hillen from Gaff, probably unlucky them boys to miss out, but that's the 15. Rory Mullen from Saul, but that's the 15 I've seen over the 3 games. I thought they were
brilliant.
The 15 of went with.
So that's the team for this week. But I suppose they, Anaclone against Drumgaff, both them will be looking at their chances there of getting to the final. Anaclone, a lot of experience. Peter, you would have played with Benny, of course, and Kevy Anderson, I'm sure, was knocking about the panel, and Guy McCardle as well.
Or Guy McCardle as well would have been there. Yeah, we
played Anaclone. Yeah,
we played them in the league. Yeah, they're just I guess every week, they're tough, hard hitting team. They don't give you an inch. you know, and like we were, of course, there was a few men sent off in that game as well. But look, good team. Whether, you know, there were, for a while there, everybody was saying about their Relegation side. I don't know if they've got any youth coming through or what their youth is like, but like, you can't rely on them boys forever, really.
But you beat Anaclone in the intermediate final. You know, as Peter says, you know, I don't think the team has changed drastically. The Creddy's still doing nets. You know, and he's still quality. Like,
Yeah, they're a tough side, and they'll sort of play the same regardless of who they're up against. You know, it'll be tough whoever the opponent is. But I actually think there could be a surprise in this game. You know, the Drumgath are scoring heavily, and it just seemed that looking at it without, this is a very uninformed decision because I haven't seen them obviously. But just looking at score lines and hearing things about it, they're playing with a bit of freedom. And similar to Leitrim, you could end up with 2 Division 3 teams in the intermediate final this year.
You know, I hear that.
But Doran, Drumgaff, serious outfit. You know, as Budgie says, maybe he hasn't heard about them. You know, that's the snobbery of Division 1. You see that they don't take into account what's happening around the county. But Drumgaff, just Jackie's got them playing good football.
He has them. I watched them the first league game. I think they played Ballymartin one night. Ronan had a conversation with Ronan Saxon a couple of years ago, and Ronnie told me Drumgaff a great crop of young fellas coming through, really good. And I always just remember it. And then last year, the good chance. I never watched them last year at all, but this year I watched them in a league game again, Ballymartin, and the pace up front, it was frightening. And I thought Big Jack, to be fair, has got them very organised, and they play to their strengths. Call them again at 6, and it's nearly a one-touch. The minute they get the ball, it's move, give, go, and I agree with Budgie. I think Anaclone, I think Drumgaff could actually beat Anaclone. I think Anaclone, I don't want to say this, but they are still the aging team. They're probably the most experienced team left in the championship. I think Drumgaff will really fancy their chances. And to be fair, I know Big Jack well, and I would like to see Big Jack take Drumgaff to final with a Big Jack in an intermediate final with a Justly in a senior final. I don't think that's ever happened before.
That's true. Neil, Drumgaff, have you seen it on Anaclone? You know, who do you fancy here and why?
I was really impressed with Drumgaff against the Kingdom. Mark, you were at it. They tore the Kingdom apart that day. They were really, really good. Packy Downey played pretty well that day too. He has the press, but them two wee boys up front are two flyers. I haven't seen Anaclone this year, but what I've seen of Drumgaff, I would have to fancy Drumgaff on the way of their display against the Kingdom. They were excellent against the Kingdom and deservedly won that game. Yeah,
they were going through, cut through the Enric defence, didn't they? Like, they must have got 4 goals, I think. Neil, would they have got 4 goals?
10 or something.
Yeah, like, you know. So it's not really much of a surprise budget there. You've called out the favourites there.
Yeah, Anaclone will be hard to beat. Always are. Division 2 against Division 3.
Yeah.
Sure, Division 2 teams are always big favourites against Division 3.
I don't think so. Right, we'll move on. Leitrim versus Saul, boys. I suppose it's you know, Leitrim with a big result against the favourites and raked. So Leitrim obviously favourites for this round. Neil, you were at our game against Shamrocks. You know, it was a great game for the neutral, but not for the coaches involved.
No, it was a great game. I thought you didn't get going. The first 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes of the game, you didn't get going. And as I said to you, I was talking to you after, you didn't win enough breaking ball. But once he's got that going and got that sorted, he's played well for the last 10 minutes in that first half. Second half, he's come out again. He didn't get going really in the first 10 minutes either. So he didn't He were a bit lackadaisy. But I think what you did do well was the substitutions you made a difference. And that helped. And you stuck in. And he's got a result. So look, you're in the hat. Yeah. Kingdom isn't in it. You're in it. You know what I mean?
Don't worry, Shamrocks and you know, we were talking earlier, just like Marty's got, I think he's got 57, 58 at training, like, so, you know, that's serious numbers, like.
Yeah, it's great. Look, I would hope Shamrocks, just when you're talking, I would hope that Shamrock squad will stay together. I think they're on the up. I do believe that They got to an intermediate final last year. I would hope Marty and all them players would stick. I know there's a few boys missing from last year through injury and stuff. I think they were very unlucky. There was very little, like it was a toss of a coin who would have won. I do think Saul were just that wee bit more clinical up front, and maybe had a couple of wee bit more, I would say, maybe match winners than Shamrocks. But look, I would hope that Shamrocks players would stick together. It would not surprise me in the next 3 years if Shamrocks playing Division 1 football. The one thing they're straight, they're very, very serious pace. And again, I'm saying like, it would be great for down. I remember when I first in '95, '96 started first playing with Longstone Senior, Shamrocks were winning Division 1 titles. And to be fair to the boys, Marty and Dee and them boys that have sort of got that, the football, like it's nearly now Gaelic's back to number one. And I do hope that group of Shamrocks players stick together. But going back to the game on Saturday, like, it was a brilliant game of football. You got after a brilliant start. Like at the start, you're going, yes, Saul's going to win this. And then 10 minutes in the second half, Shamrocks go 3 up, and you can see no way back. And then it just swung from back forward. Like, you couldn't have called a winner. But it was the thing that impressed me most was that how, like, it was full of a senior game. I know, I remember that. It's just, I remember I was standing on the Newcastle side road, and you see the emotion in people's faces. Like, Saul people were nearly crying. Like, it was just, it meant that much to them. And then in the 10 minutes in the second half, it just looked demoralised, and Shamrock were up. And then I thought, this is not good. It was probably what was game of the weekend. I would actually say the two intermediate. Look, there were 2 brilliant games, but just Shamrock's positive. I would hope Shamrock. I do think the next couple of years Shamrock's our team coming, but Saul, definitely that was a big win, and I do think they're just that wee bit better. The Saul and Leitrim game, you're going, did Saul want Leitrim? No. Did Leitrim want Saul? No. It's a massive game. And I think about the day, like, I literally couldn't, if you asked me to pick a winner, I couldn't pick a winner. I just think they're that close. I do think both teams' strengths in attack. I think Saul's strength is in attack up front. I do think Leitrim's the same. Their attacks, their strong point. I think Liam Middleton was carried off in the last seconds. I think he done something on his hamstring. If he doesn't play, that would be a massive loss for Leitrim. You maybe side with Saul. And again, I said, think about it today and repeat myself. I couldn't pick a winner. And when I go and pick a winner, I think it's down to one thing: pure want. I think it will come down to what that pure want. There's people say, "Oh, well, who wants it?" But I mean that pure want. Like, and it's a game I actually can't wait to see. And like, if you watch Leitrim now again Ballyhone, or again the Kingdom in Ballyhone, again it's a bit like your game. Leitrim started off and it's like a 3, and they missed a few easy scores. Kingdom got on top. 10 minutes in the second half, the Kingdom went 2 in front, and then the Kingdom missed a goal chance. If that goes in,
I know it's Conor McCricket, like, for 1-8 in a like out of some scoring, like, you know,
it's something. And to be fair, McCricket, even the game was it was tight enough room. McCricket, I think it was a ball around the sideline. Set it down, free kick right on the sideline and straight out over the bar. Actually, like, I think this on Saturday, it's one game.
You're scaring me now, Doran. Thanks. I'm not sleeping tonight.
No, but people underestimate the intermediate championship. I hear Pete saying I wouldn't want to drop down into the intermediate championship. I remember in 2002, Longstone, we won an intermediate championship. 4 years later, we were playing Bourne in a league final. The next year, we were in a championship final against Mayor Bridge. We were beating the replay. 5 years ago, Warren Point won an intermediate championship. And now they're sitting in the championship semi-final. Last year in the championship final, Lough Neagh won an intermediate.
I think what it is, Doran, I don't have 4 or 5 years. That's the problem.
I think for a club, and I'm name checking these clubs that I'm gas, and Alfred's going to feel hard done by, but I'm gas, the Saul, the League. I think if one of them clubs won an intermediate championship this year, it would be massive for them. I think it's it gives them a real launch pad.
Peter,
kick on.
How I'm sure you're delighted that Saul are into the semi-final of the intermediate championship.
Yeah, just, very close neighbours. So It's great to see them going well, especially the way our seasons went. You know, it's just been icing on the cake. You know, but just from talking to you and from knowing some of the boys, like you know the work they put in, and at the end of the day, boys put in the work. You know, they deserve the reward, and I'm not too sure. I haven't seen too much of Leitrim or Drumgath, or even just seen Anaclona is the only team I've really seen out of them for, because just the way things have went, I haven't been able to get to any of the matches, and I would have loved to went to the match there this Saturday, but obviously I'm working on this course as well. So, like, it's good to see, you know, that they're competitive, and that, you know, at the minute they're probably joint favourites to win it now. You know, that is sort of, as Tony said, I think it's between Saul and Leitrim who win the whole thing, to be honest.
It's Leitrim budget. You know, they're still backboned by, you know, great footballers: Pierce McCrickard, Rory McCrickard, Conor McCrickard. You know, top quality footballers, like.
And names that go down through the years at Leitrim football, like, you know. So that's again, I just have a feeling that it's Leitrim's year on it, and it's because they have that bit of tradition with them. So they might be very similar levels of football teams, Leitrim and Saul. It's just the tradition lies with Leitrim, which always sort of leaves you to swing towards that. Which is why I think they could win this weekend and win the championship all right out. But again, the boys are saying it's going to be a really tight game. And Saul, I know we played Saul at the start of the year in challenge match, and they're very impressive. But they're having a great year. And is the fact that there's no promotion this year from Division 3, is it going to have an impact on some of those likes of Leitrim or Drumgath, you know, in future years? The fact that they're still in Division 3 next year, is that going to hinder, like you were talking when Newry Shamrocks there, is that going to hinder their development?
That Division 3 is going to be brutal next year. Like, you've got Shamrocks, Drumgath, Ballymorton that gets stronger. Who'd you say? Leitrim,
Addy Call.
You know, all these teams are going to get stronger. Like, so, you know, it is intermediate. Like, it is. We won, Peter. I think we won one in 2005, did we?
Yeah.
For the Hoops, didn't really propel the Hoops to playing championship finals or anything like that there. So
we did play a championship. We did play a championship final not that long after, but it was another intermediate. Wasn't that far long. I can't remember exactly the difference. I think it might have been 2008, maybe 2005.
Maybe 2007, I think.
But it's funny, there are some years you have teams like, say, when we won it, and there's other at 1 point, 1 lock and 9-1. Those teams they were dropping out of Division 1 and winning the intermediate. Whereas this year it's the other teams that, you know, the lower Division 3 teams seem to be the real strong ones, like, you know, and Division 2 teams. It's funny, like.
What advice would you give for you know, dealing with it? I think you played Leitrim in the semi-final. They beat you the first time, did they? And then
and the second game we won the match by 10 points, but with 10 minutes to go, I think they were beating us by a point.
Was it in your match, or? Yeah,
we scored like 2-5 in the last 10 minutes.
What advice?
A goal just broke it.
What advice would you give to the four teams playing a semi-final? Semi-finals are hard. You know, no one remembers a semi-finalist. You know, it's nothing.
You remember what John we played senior semi-final?
Yeah.
Against Leitrim. Funny
drew the first
replay.
Yeah.
We were dreadful. Like. We were absolutely dreadful, but we just done enough to hang on. So I think that time we were so nervous. It felt like the weight of the world was on your shoulders. There's a lot of pressure on. For some reason, maybe we were too young or something. But the intermediate one was different. Then obviously I was older, but you enjoyed it a lot more. If you look forward to the games and enjoy them and go out. There's no point going out if you're playing half back and just, you know, sitting on the 50 all day. Go out and bloody get forward and express yourself within a match. Like, that's where it comes from.
Doran, you've played in championship finals yourself, and, you know, semi-finals, and did you beat Burn one year in the semi-final? Was it?
Somebody said about the route Warren Point had from hell. The year we got to the championship final, we beat Kilcoo in Newcastle. We beat Bourne in Newry in a semi-final. And Austin Mayor Bridge went to a replay, and I've was a tough run for Zane. But the Maybridge beat us in a replay, and Maybridge Cross McLean then beat Maybridge in an Ulster final. So at that time, look, we thought we had a great team, but we just couldn't get over the bridge. It was actually Longstone's current manager scored. We led the whole way in the replay, and I actually blame Monk Cole on Maybridge winning the championship that year.
Yeah.
And Bourne News had Maybridge Bates.
That's right.
And Monk Cole in front of I'll never forget it, Stan.
Went for the goal.
Monk Cole had a chance to fist the ball out. I don't know what, he shot it down the corner flag, and Maybridge went down the field, and we were only Saxon. A left foot shot into the corner of the net, replay, and then the bridge. But look, it's championship, as I think Neil or Peter Turley said. That's what every player looks forward to. And look, you mentioned their semi-final is the worst time to get beat, because if you go down through the years, who remembers who was beat in the semi-final? It's always a final, and
because the semi-finals, you're not getting a day out or nothing. Like, no. And it's, you know, like we had the we were not
going to bring that up. The Kilcoo game.
we played Kilcoo and we didn't actually score in the first half.
Yes, I remember.
You know, like, so I'm just hoping Saul's score in the first half and I've done my job. But you know, going into semi-finals or even Ulster finals, I think you played in the Ulster final there against Tyrone, was it? As well, you know.
Yeah.
You know, what advice would you give for the four teams here? Like, this is probably, you know, some of them, you know, it's massive for their clubs. Like,
no, it is, and I hope, you know, can only be one winner. Well, in the semi-finals, there's going to be two winners. Like, but it's only one winner of the whole championship. But you have to go out and, you know, I think when you're younger, when I sort of realised when you're younger, like, you think when you get the ball, you make a mistake. You know, you're afraid to make a mistake. You know, you're afraid sometimes because it's a bigger occasion. More people watching you, more people judging you. At the end of the day, the game doesn't change. Yes, the intensity changes and, you know, time on the ball changes. But other than that, all the basics are the same. Just go out and do what you do all the time. You know what I mean? Do what you've been doing since you're whatever age and enjoy it. You know, forget that anybody's watching you. Just try to enjoy the match as much as you can.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Don't leave it behind.
Neil, I suppose, has there been any directives, you know, at the start of the year? I remember there was a thing about, you know, there was a stamp down on above the neck tackles and that, you know, referees sometimes. Was there anything brought in this year that, you know, you were told to specifically watch out for?
Yeah, the high tackles, as I explained to you that time I was down in Seoul, anything above the neck is a red card. So you're not making no attempt to play the ball. I was out assessing Dackie Ryan out in Kingdom. Atty Call was playing Ballymartin, and he got a bit of stick for sending the player off. The lad was running clean through, and the boy made no attempt to play the ball and caught him about lip high with his arm. You know what I mean? And they were saying, it's only a high tackle. he nearly took the head off him. Like, but you know, that was one of the things we're told. We're also told that faster that they're trying to control that is mental.
What about the balls being kicked on the field? Seen that happen there one weekend as well.
It happened at the game I was doing the line at. Yeah, I think that's just ridiculous. I think that's just so childish to me.
But, it is. But how do you can't stop it? You know what I mean?
No, you can't stop it at all. And because of the COVID, we're not mic'd up. So every time that you're trying to make a bloody substitution, especially in your eye, if you're the standby referee, you have to do the dugout side in the second half. So that's usually the time when it gets a bit hot and heavy, and that's when all the subs come on. Yeah. So I was having to walk onto the field 10 or 15 yards, and everybody was going, are you going to get him sent off? Are you going to get him booked? All I was doing was trying to get Gavin's attention and telling the sub was coming on. You're getting all this stick and abuse. But I think now what I'm hearing is they'll be available this weekend. There's 2 sets, so they can have a set and then have it sterilised for the next. You know, I think that's the way they're going to work it. But it's very, very, very hard. Even with 300 people in, it's very, very hard to get the referee's attention at the other side of the field.
Yeah.
But it's the times we're in, and obviously it has to be done right. But and I have to admit, fair play to the county board now, and every procedure, and we're getting what we're getting told, and we're getting our wee passes sent to us. You scan it on the phone, you get sterilised going in.
everything's done really, really well now. So you have to give them credit on that. Everything's been done top notch, like, and separated and no room and all that. You know, it's good, very good.
I just want to talk about sort of while I have you on. It's always been a curiosity of mine. Referees, whenever
You mean a gripe, John? You mean a gripe?
It's just whenever, you know, a team is in the ascendancy and you can sense the referee just turning, you know, them just slight free kicks that he wasn't given in the first half are now going against you, not there as well. You know, is there, you know, I know you can't speak for all referees and that, but do you think that in a human nature that it's like referees are like, oh, we'll give this team a chance here?
I know, I don't believe that, John. You might, as a manager, see it like that, but I don't honestly think that anybody would do that. Like the game the other night, like people were saying that Warren Point were getting easier frees than Clonduff. But I think if you look back in the statistics of the game, there was like 13 frees to 12. You know what I mean? So Gavin was getting a bit of stick for not giving certain frees. Maybe, possibly, some other referees might have blew him, some other referees mightn't have. But I don't think any referee intentionally goes out with that in his head. No, definitely not. Well, I wouldn't anyway. As you know, you shout at me long enough, so you know the correct.
No, it's just, as you said, it's probably just whenever you're thinking to yourself, geez, we wouldn't have got that free. Do you know what they're saying? They're getting it. You know, it's probably a manager's psyche or.
I'll tell you one hard thing is now. Just I've done a lot of lines this year and then sort of bigger games. See if you're standing on the line in Uri. It's very, very, very hard to see the far side. I don't ask me why that is, but if you're 10 or 12 row up in the stand, you have a panoramic view to see 20 yards that way and 20 yards that way. And a lot of the fans are shouting for this and shouting, oh, he pulled him down, he didn't do it. And they're saying, you've seen that. But to be truthfully honest, you don't bloody see it because you're looking at the ball this way or you're looking that way and you're trying to run by about 9 mentors on the line and dodge in and out and all this. So people will be shouting at you, did you not see that? Did you not see that? But honest to God, if I seen it, I would give it. I just didn't see it. That's the truth.
As Tony says, God love referees, sort of God. Like, only 4 years though. Only 4 years. Budgie, you made a career out of getting your way with referees.
Not as much as we Laverty. Big sick.
Allegedly, Budgie. Don't
he got a penalty the other day for nothing.
He did. I seen that. Somebody had him in a headlock. Boys, I suppose we'll get the predictions here for the intermediate then. Who's going to win the matches, lads? Leitrim versus Saul and Anaclone versus Drumgaff. Go you first, Budge.
Leitrim Drumgaff final.
Leitrim Drumgaff. Scoop.
I'm gonna go Saul Drumgaff.
Saul Drumgaff. Neil.
Saul Drumgaff.
Tony, I seen the wee cogs working in that brain, but you're sitting there going, just leave me to the end here. I'm still thinking.
I will look Drumgaff. I said earlier. I'm going to go penalties.
I was thinking the same.
I do believe that evenly matched. But look, Peter's getting said about Leitrim shouldn't be a Division 3 club. We know, like last year, Leitrim had 11 games to play with the hurling and the backlog. But the one thing I will say, look, I think this is the most competitive intermediate championship in years. Like last year, before ball was kicked, 9 people out of 10 would have said Glen will win it. When we're Point, different teams were going to win it. Restreva was going to win it. Loughnane was going to win it. Yeah. You knew nearly, but now this year, like before ball was kicked,
it's great to
5
see.
or 6 teams.
Yeah, it's great to see.
Yeah. So as the penalties, I'm not saying who'll win it in penalties, but I think it's going to penalties. Faggy, you and Ronan, your prize in the penalties this week.
Well, you know the rule now, Faggy. You have to be involved.
That's what I was asking. That's what I was asking for, just in case. Yeah. Me and Rooney can't hit the penalties. I know. I'm sure. We put our names on the team sheet. Boys, thanks a million. That was super. We'll get this on again sometime in the final, in the build-up, and then we'll see if your predictions were right. And then I hope somebody torches us about all your predictions and out there and what's happening. As they do. You got away with one, Doran. They come at me, Doran. They don't even say nothing to you anymore. They don't come to me.
I don't listen to them.
Yeah.
I had a wee bit of abuse from my neighbours last week.
Oh, did you?
My good neighbours.
Why?
Because I tipped them. I got off the phone. Got on the phone last Friday morning. There's 3 messages.
It happens, don't worry about it. Well, that's our show sponsored by Recovery Club Newry. So,
sorry,
yes.
sorry, John, for interrupting you. Just when you're saying messages on the phone, what do you hear? Your old mates just text me. What do you hear? This will be good. Like Ronan McCartan, get off the podcast. I'll not tell you what he written it.
he's got ears and eyes everywhere. That man, by let me tell you. No.
Well, here I'll just give you the bit of information first that he's looking. Dackie Ryan's refereeing your game.
Oh, Dackie.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
So,
good Warren Point, man. Always loved Warren Point. Great. Right, man. On that note, Scoop,
No phone calls,
Charlie.
No problem. Thanks very much.
Charlie, thank you.
All right.
See you there, lads.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you. Good luck.